Consistently coming up with creative designs for new builds in Minecraft to fill your world up can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, and it can be really hard to have like some brand new original ideas, which is where this technique I'm going to describe comes into play. So I like to look at reference images. One website I use quite a lot for this is Pinterest. It's a really good tool if you're having just a little bit of a creative block. So what I'll do is I'll come along and find something like this. A pretty cool looking tower. I'm building in a medieval theme, so this fits the build perfectly. So what I've searched for is a medieval tower, and I've had a scroll through, look through all the pictures and found one that I quite like the design of, and then we basically go from there. So we're never going to be able to create this looking exactly the way that it is in the game, but we can take from it and sort of develop around it. So there's a few things I see straight away just to get the actual size of this. Basically, we need to break it down. The door is going to be 1 block wide, and the walls, because I like to work on odd numbers, are going to be 3 blocks wide. So we're going to have 1 block here, and it's going to be 3 wide along here, and then we're going to have a 5th block on the edge for these stone bits here that create the sort of borderline of the build. So we can already see some block palettes that we can use for this from the game. So we can use stone bricks for the edges, and that should wind up looking pretty cool. And we can use a mixture of smooth stone, cobblestone and andesite, or maybe just smooth stone and andesite just to keep it a little bit cleaner, to do the central sections. To create these arrow slits here and here, we can just use stairs. So it's not going to be perfectly central, but by replacing a couple of the blocks in the middle there, that would probably be 2 blocks high there. So it would wind up coming up to the same size as the door, but because it's stairs, that actually only creates a 1 block space. So this is how we can sort of start to work out exactly how large the build is as well. Now, I think the best thing I can do now is sort of jump into a world and just sort of start building this up, and we can reference the image for the different parts that we're doing and sort of go from there. So here we are in a brand new world that is literally generating in front of us, and we are going to build this tower. So luckily enough, we've actually spawned in a plains biome, which is kind of what I was hoping for this, and this is literally the spawn point here. So what we're going to do is condition the land a little bit, and then we'll be able to get started on this. So let me just do that and then we'll jump back. Okay, so we've made a little bit of a plan now. We've got the sort of initial size of this build in mind. So what I've done now is come up with a bit of a block palette. So again, we've got the stone bricks for the edges of the stone structure, stone and andesite to create the central texture. We're going to use the stone brick stairs just to make the arrow slits. We're going to use these spruce stairs to make the sort of supporting beams for the little wooden structure. We're going to use the trapdoor for the windows on the wooden structure, and we're going to use just regular spruce wood for the bulk of the wooden structure itself. To differ it from the actual picture and make it work a bit more in the context of Minecraft, I've also got some dark oak here, dark oak logs, just to add a bit of a framing around the wooden structure, just to try and make it look a little bit more interesting than it otherwise would. And for the overall roof, we have got the prismarine blocks. Now, I'm not 100% certain how that one's going to come out looking, so we're going to give it a go, and if we don't like it, then we can change it. But because in the image it's got like a little bit of a blue texture to it, could be an interesting way to go around it. But if that doesn't work out, then we could always use maybe dark oak could be a really good substitute for it. There is one more colour that we realistically do need to make this work, because on the highest part of the structure there's a bit of a cream colour, so I will probably, for that, use stripped oak wood just to create that sort of effect. I really like the stripped oak textures just because they've just got a really cool texture. We are using a vanilla resource pack. This is literally the base game's resource pack. So, just for the sake of symmetry, I'm going to fill this out because otherwise it's going to annoy me. So, here we go. We have got a solid block palette. We know roughly how wide everything's going to be. So, let's grab some stone brick, this and this, and we are going to build the general structure. So we did a tiny little bit of land terraforming, just enough that we got enough space to get this going. So essentially, to begin with, we are literally building a 5x5 square. So we're going to go 1, and we're just going to mix that up a little bit. So we got 1, 3 and 1, and that is essentially going to be the base of this whole thing, going all the way around like so. And this is the lowest part of the build. So from here, these blocks are just going to carry up. No use in counting it just yet. We're just going to bring the whole thing up to a point and sort of stop. Because I imagine that this stone structure will bleed into the wooden structure. Like all of that wooden bit is going to be built around this stone as like a bit that sort of juts out as opposed to a separate block on top of it. And then from there, we just need to fill all of this in. Okay, so there we go. We've got a little bit of a texturized tower here. So we got the basic design of it done. I'm just going to chuck a few random bits more of this around the place. We're not really going to be doing an interior yet. See, so this bit over here doesn't look so great. I do normally spend quite a bit of time playing around with the way I've textured these things up, just because otherwise it can look pretty bad like this one did. It just had some solid straight lines, so realistically I want to be breaking that up a little bit and just hopefully making it look a little bit more interesting. We could add a little bit of cobblestone to this. If I were to do that, I'd probably add it to the bottom, but for the sake of this tutorial we're not going to be doing that. Just going to change this up a little bit more. Right, before I spend too much time doing that, I'll play around with it a little bit. So there's a couple of other things on the lower level before we start sort of planning out where our door level is that we need to think about, because we could just go, okay, awesome, we got a door, we got a tower, up we go. That is not what we've got in the picture though. If you look in the picture, we've got like a little section that sort of is raised up before we get to the door, so there's going to be some stairs there, and I'm going to just do it with the stone brick stairs. Actually no, I won't. I'm going to do it with regular old stone stairs, and yeah, where are they? There they are. Yeah, so it looks to be a little bit curved, but I don't really think we need to curve it. So we're going to come along, and we see the door's going to be in the middle. So let's see just where the stairs come to, basically. And literally, because this is only 3 wide, that means our actual door is going to be 2 blocks up. Which means, looking at the tower, we've actually got a pretty good starting point for it, I think. Comparing this to the image as to where everything else would go. So we're going to have to raise the tower up a little bit more, but the wooden structure, as far as I'm seeing it, is going to sit on this sort of section at the top there. So that means we can get our little arrow slit bits in, which are literally going to go here, 1 block below where the wooden structure is going to start. So we're going to do that on all sides in the same place, and that is going to give us our defensive arrow slits. Now the reason I'm doing it with stone bricks is just to add a little bit of a texture variation so you can see it a little bit easier. It makes it stand out a little bit, but that is fine, in my opinion anyway. That's fine. So right, let's go back to this little lower section. I'm actually going to bring this out by 1 more just because I think that that will look a little bit better, and we're going to just carry this over, and basically that is all that we're really going to need to do to this. I'm going to raise it up to the back here by 1 more. But on a basic level, that is literally what that build looks like. But that's a little bit boring, so let's just add a little bit extra. And actually we can grab another block in a second just to help continue to make this look just a little bit better. That is, yeah, just the same variation all the way around. So let's grab, in fact actually we don't need this last bit here, that's going to look a little bit weird. So let's grab some walls, and for the sake of a bit more variation, I will use cobblestone walls here, and I'm just going to sort of square this build off a little bit. Now one thing that will make this look a lot better is adding sort of nature around the edges of it. Maybe keeping it one wide might have been a little bit better, but for ease of access and simplicity's sake, this is going to do just fine. In fact, we might add just a little bit of shape by cutting that last block out there, and that should help to make this rather flat structure look a little bit more interesting. So we've got all of the height ready and everything now. We need to grab our spruce blocks. So by referencing the image again now, we can sort of see that these wooden support beams are sort of coming out from the edge of the arrow slit. Now this is going to be a little bit close, but I'm literally just going to build these support beams like so. In fact, actually, I'm going to raise it up by one because I want the wooden structure to sit from there. Now, the question is that too close together? We'll find out. We might wind up changing this a little bit, but yeah, we can get like a fairly cool little effect just by doing two forward stairs like that. We get like a nice little air gap there, just to make it look a little bit different to just filling it in with just a block, because we could literally just do that, but I think that looks a little bit bland. Now we'll do these two sides like this, and just to see whether it looks a little bit better like this, we're gonna do the other ones on the actual edge of the build, and this might actually wind up looking quite a bit better like so. But essentially for the next section we're going to be following the same sort of thing. So in fact, actually, definitely I think we're going to do it like this, just because that's going to give us our little squared off bit that we've got in the picture a little bit better than how I was doing it before. So yeah, there we go, perfecto. So if you look at the picture, these builds aren't really that connected together. We're gonna have like a base layer that sort of comes along like so, and this is how we're going to be differing a little bit from what the source material has. And we're coming out by 2 because that comes right to the edge. Do we want to come out by 2 actually? Yeah, okay, I think we will. We're going to come out by 2, and then we're going to go up by 1, 2, and 3. We're going to get some spruce, and that's going to come all the way along. We're going to go up by 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to get some spruce and come along like so. And then we've got our 1 block high window here, which is going to be capped off with a spruce trapdoor. And that creates the sort of window that you can see in the picture. Now I know in the picture they've got doubled up windows, so if we wanted we could follow the theme a little bit more and do that. And in fact that might look a little bit better, just to again make things look a little bit more interesting. So yeah, let's do that. So we'll go around and we'll do this same thing to all the sides and continue it on. So up like so. 2. Right, so what's the next thing to sort of keep this moving along? We need to add a final sort of support beam along the top of these bits here, just to get the sort of squared off Minecrafty feel. Like, I feel like the game wouldn't be very Minecrafty without this squared off Minecrafty feel. We're going to fill this corner bit in just with spruce, and we're going to do the same thing over on this corner, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom here. So just 1 block higher than our stone wall there, we're just going to raise that up, and this is the basis of it. So let me just get the other 2 bits filled in. So now we're moving on to our first sort of little roofing design, which I think what we're going to need to do is bring these corner pieces up. Don't really need to worry about filling the central parts of the stone bricks in. And we need to work out the sort of height that this is actually going to be. So it's got a little bit of a curved lip on it, which sort of comes over the top. So what we can do, and hopefully it should wind up looking okay. This block may wind up being way too colourful, but we'll continue rolling with it just to sort of see how it goes. Let's keep the curve going, so we're just going to bring it up again by one on the edge, and yes, that is a thing. Do we like it? We might need to use the stair variant there. It might actually be curving too much, but there is definitely a bit of an overhang on this side. Now it's fairly steep but also very short, so we're probably looking at going maybe, let's see how this looks, slab and then a stair, slab and then stair, and then is that going to bring us over too much? The only problem with what we've just done is that these blocks are going to connect on the corners like that, which isn't ideal, or they're going to connect like that, but that doesn't work, so we're probably just going to have to keep this as slabs. So yeah, this is the thing, we're never going to be able to perfectly replicate a build, but you know, there's things we can do to sort of make it a bit more interesting. So we'll put a stair there just to add a little bit of curvature to it, and a stair there, and then we're going to come down again, and finally it's going to come back up at the end here. And then no, we really don't like that block choice, so this is where we're going to have to play around a little bit now and find something that suits it a little bit better. So let's try dark prismarine. So the dark prismarine's doing it a bit more for me, and I think we've got a pretty decent shape going on now as well. So if I just replace this real quick, see, we're literally just going 2 down 1, or down a half slab, 3 back up a half slab, and across by 2, and that gives us a bit of a better shape for it. So let's get this full thing filled in. In the end, I've abandoned the curved roof design because with the way this roofing is, it actually just really doesn't work, and that is a really important lesson for working from reference images. It just won't always work out. Now, I actually quite like the dark prismarine here. I think it's a pretty cool look. There's just a few things we need to fill in. So because we can see the air gaps from the outside, we just need to come along and fill these bits in, and that should help it look a little bit more complete from the outside. Now, sorry, that sun glare is a bit much. Now, I still feel like there's a little bit more that we can do to make this a tiny bit more interesting. So these corner pieces are very sort of stark and corner pieces, so I am going to chuck a trapdoor there and a trapdoor down there, and then I'm actually going to get some dark oak fences and sort of run them along here, and then yeah, I think we'll just run the whole thing along like that. And again, that's just going to help add like a little tiny bit more shape and make things look a little tiny bit more interesting than just leaving that completely flat. So at this point, we're no longer completely trying to copy the build. We're just sort of taking the core principles of the build that make it look good to us, and then we're going to develop it into a style that works for us and also works for a game that is primarily made from blocks. So yeah, let's get those trapdoors in, and yeah, that should just help it to look just a little bit better, which I think it does. I'm pretty happy with it. Now down the bottom, to me, is starting to look a little bit structurally not sound, so what can we do about that is the next thing to sort of start thinking about, because that's a pretty large wooden structure, and yes, it is wood attached to stone, so you know, it's not exactly the heaviest thing, but you think you're going to start adding people and stuff like that in, and the bottom of the tower is just looking a little bit thin. So actually one thing that I really like to do on towers like this is add these like little struts to just sort of reinforce the edge of the tower a little bit. It's something that doesn't really cost much, and I think really helps add to that sort of military look as well with the build. So, you know, if you had a bit more space, I'd definitely say play around with the heights of some of these. So rather than coming all the way up on all of them, you can have some a little bit lower, and in fact, actually, let's do that. We'll have a couple just a little bit lower down, and that should help it to look a little bit more interesting as well. But most importantly, it helps the build to look a little bit more structurally sound and adds a bunch of depth into the build as well. So is there anything we can do here to sort of improve the way that this section looks? I don't really think there's too much that we could do. Maybe just add in some trapdoors along there will add like a little bit of extra depth to it, and again make it a little bit more interesting. Or alternatively, we could use fences, and then to add some light to the build, we could grab some lanterns and dangle them off of the fences, and that'll help sort of brighten things up a little bit. But I'm not 100% that is the move. Anyway, let's make this doorway a little bit more interesting, because at the moment it's just an open hole. So we're just going to go spin the stair off here, and spin the stair off here. Super simple door designs, and there you go. And then you'd have like a spruce door in there, and that is just perfect. It's absolutely beautiful. Alternatively, again though, we could grab another wall and sort of play around with it. So let's grab an andesite wall and see if this looks a little bit better, sort of coming around and adding a bit of an indent to where the doorway is. It works, it does work. Not entirely sure if it's better than what we had. Maybe if we used stone brick stairs there instead. In fact, yeah, I think that is probably the right look for this, and still keeps us along the lines of the original image. So let's grab our wee door and get that in place, and there we go. Right, so we have got the base structure done. Already looks like a tower, already looks fairly cool. Now we've got the next section to work on, which is going to be a little bit more complicated from what I'm looking at, but nothing we can't handle. Okay, so having had looked at the image for a little bit, then I think actually this section is going to be quite easy. So we're just going to get a little frame of dark oak going on the inside of the dark prismarine stairs there. We're going to come up by 1, 2, 3 on all corners. Now again, we're not going to be able to make this perfectly to the way that it is in the image, because they have got 3 windows, and from the way I work this out, we're only going to have 2. So we've come up in the center as well of all of these with dark oak, just because we can't create the crisscross wood effect that they have, but we can do this. And then to get that sort of beige color that they've got going on, we're going to take the stripped oak logs and we're going to pop them on the top and bottom gaps, and then we're just going to fill the rest in with some glass of any color you want. This is just grey glass, and that sort of fills it out and sort of almost gives it the same image as what we've got going on there. We could take oak trapdoors, and yeah, I actually completely forgot that that was there because I couldn't even see it in my inventory. We could take these and add these to the stripped oak, and that could wind up looking pretty good. Yeah, adds another layer. Now, I absolutely love using trapdoors in builds. I feel like they're one of the most sort of versatile blocks going on in the game. And in fact, I'm going to use the spruce trapdoor in a second as well on this. So let's get all of these filled in. Yeah, that is done. Let's grab one of these spruce trapdoors, and just on the centre bit, I think the centre bit's going to be the best place to do it. Yeah, on the centre piece, all the way round, I'm going to add the spruce trapdoors just to add like a sort of reinforcing strut, I suppose. Yeah. And again, that's just helping us to add a few more layers to it. Now we need to sort the roof out, so we're going to have to bring all of this up by one again on all the corner bits, and then just fill it in with lengthways logs along there. I think that looks pretty good. So we've got a fairly steep pointed roof here, so let's get our dark prismarine. We're actually going to probably need the blocks here, stairs, slabs, all of the bits, just to sort of get the shape of this roof going. So it comes to a centralized point, so let's use blocks just to create this. Now we might have to go up 2 at a time to get this to look right, because that is probably going to be quite small. Get that one there and that one over there. Yeah, so you see what I mean? It looks a little bit too low, so probably are going to have to double up on the height of these just to get the point to the right location, and I can already tell that that is going to be a hell of a lot better. So we need to raise all of this up like so, and you get rid of you. I really deleted the wrong block then. Would have been handy to have it, but there you go. Right, so that is our roof height. And how do we want to tackle the actual roof in shape? Do we want to use stairs? I'll use stairs for this bottom bit actually. We're going to get rid of that sort of proper corner bit. Excellent block clicking on my part. Get rid of all of that like that. And then is it just going to be a case of stepping the whole thing up? Or is this going to look way too square now? It may wind up looking a little bit too square, but let's get it filled in and we'll just take a look and see how it's doing. So that looks very, very blocky, but actually from down here, doesn't look half bad. As a matter of fact, I actually think that all in all the build looks pretty good. I think we've done an alright job on this one. And I don't think it's strayed too far away from the source material. We do have like a little flag on the original picture that you can sort of just about see. So let's just raise up some fences and we'll grab some, say, red wool. There's a red wool, there we go. And we can just go and make it look like it's swaying a little bit in the wind. And we'll just double up on the height of it. There we go. One very simple flag. Done and done. And that is one medieval tower, and that didn't even take us that long to build. Built from a source image. I don't think it's terrible. It's definitely not the best, but actually I do quite like it. The roof is a little bit blocky for my liking, but we may actually be able to fix the blocky look by taking these corners away. I was about to call it a day then. I'm going to take these away. And just to cover that up, I'm going to add the slabs in. And then there you go, yep, that fixed the sort of really blocky look. It still looks a little bit blocky. And actually, see, I've already just seen why it still looks quite a bit blocky. We're going to have to add some more slabs in. Say here, here and here, and that should be it. Perfect. Fantastic. Love it. I think it looks great. I actually really like this build. Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed. Catch you next time.